A few videos ago, I talked about how you, as the Dungeon Master, have a role in making rolls exciting, particularly in how you tell the story of critical successes and critical failures. Now, I think critical successes and failures are one of the most fun parts of Dungeons & Dragons, and plenty of other games as well. The joy of beating the odds is palpable at most tables, and I've seen people jump in the air, I've seen people scream and shout, throw things, not my favorite. I've seen plenty of people cry. Looking at you, Heartsinger. So how do we maximize the awesomeness? What can we do as Dungeon Masters to make critical successes and failures more interesting? Hey everyone, I'm Miles Duffield. I'm a professional Dungeon Master with 15 years of experience, and I'm here today to get critical of my criticals. Let's get critical, critical. I said let's get critical, critical. Copyright infringement. Crits are naturally exciting. Even the failures are fun. So the question is not how do we make crits fun, it's how do we maximize the joy from these extremes. So I have a few tools that I've tested and tweaked over the years, and I'd welcome you to try. My first tip jumps right in. And if you aren't doing this already, I strongly encourage you to start. In fact, if you don't do or try anything else out of this video, that's okay, but at least give this a try at your table. Make critical successes and failures apply to skill checks and saves as well as attacks. Basically, if anyone rolls a d20 and gets a natural 1 or a natural 20, something crazy should happen. I can already hear the YouTube comments about, what about the bard who's trying to seduce the king to take over the kingdom? What about my player who wants to jump on the heads of orcs to escape the horde? That sounds awesome, by the way, and rule of cool that for sure. What about the impossible action, the game-breaking skill check? Should I just let my player ruin my game because they rolled a 20? Gods no. You just have to be a little clever. The bard is the typical one. My bard seduced the big bad evil guy, right? The bard wants to seduce the king to take over the kingdom. Well, no. Part of that is never gonna happen, but we don't have to say no. No is never fun. So the king is a wise man, right? He probably has a wife, maybe a husband. Even if he doesn't, my goodness, this adventurer is charming. What if? No. I couldn't possibly. What if the king falls head over heels in love? Well, the king obviously isn't going to abandon their post, but they might start to court the player as a concubine. They might shower them in gifts. Ooh, that's exciting, especially if the gifts are weird or do something, or maybe have links to different quests, right? They might even be twisted enough to try to kidnap the player, or even sends assassins after the party because that much temptation cannot exist on this plane. People with power are weird, and nothing is ever as simple as your players think that it is. Or at least, it doesn't have to be. Now, that's just one example. My point is that you don't have to let a natural 20 be a success in a traditional way. A player's intention can lead to some unintended consequences. We do things all the time that we intend to end up one way, and they end up a completely different way, and I think that's fun. My second tip is a branch off the first, and it's a little more situational. Make critical successes and failures mean something. I mean, double damage is fine. A wild miss is absolutely fine as well. These are both cool, and they feel special the first time. But I've played thousands of hours of Dungeons & Dragons, and I am a little bit bored of the bottom line. Now, even for new players, you can radically improve the drama of any situation as the Dungeon Master by giving your criticals on both sides of the d20 a little extra punch. Now, this tip comes inspired from other games, especially Starfinder by Paizo, which is an amazing d20 RPG that you should check out. Or you can just come watch me run it every Thursday at 7:00 p.m. Eastern Time on twitch.tv/HearthsingerGames. We run Starfound, which is an actual play podcast of Starfinder.
He's everything.
He's a dragon. He's a creature just like us. He's just big and scary and can shapeshift into our backstories.
He wants...
Come hang out. You can even squeeze it in before a critical role. We did that for you. You're welcome. Now, in Starfinder, the more special weapons have critical effects. So a laser blaster will set someone on fire, or an ice hammer will freeze them solid. And I think mechanical moments like this are so important to make gameplay feel fresh and new and interesting. So if your player hits with a critical, tell the story of it. Have them pin their opponent against the wall. Have them cut them so bad that they bleed and take damage over time. Knock them on the ground prone. Maybe knock off a piece of their armor so that they permanently reduce the armor class of that monster. That's a cool idea. I've never done that before. That's dope. Similarly, on crit failures, use them to create more drama, more threat, more tension. Have your players slip on the ice. Have them get set off balance and be flapping on the edge of the cliff like Errol Flynn. Now, two quick caveats about this. First, don't let the dice pick on a player. This can really make it really bad. If a player keeps rolling natural ones, it's only funny until they're not having fun anymore, so give them a break. Let their natural ones slide once or twice, or make it so that they have an effect like they fall through the floorboards, but one of the floorboards kicks up and hits the orc facing them in the crotch, giving them advantage on their next attack, but they can't move because they're stuck in the floorboards. Now, suddenly you have this interesting mechanical dynamic where your player who can't roll has a better chance of hitting. And also, it feels like they suffer the consequences of the natural one that they rolled. Super cool. Doesn't feel like cheating, feels interesting. The second caveat is be careful not to overdo this. D&D 5e is pretty well balanced, especially from levels 1 to 5, so manipulating the game like this can wreck an encounter, even cause a TPK, even before you see it coming. So use it carefully to create drama, and not to destroy your game or fun at the table. Caveat 3, I should also mention that at tables where a much more raw or rules as written approach is taken to the play style, this may not work as well, but test it out and make sure your players are on board and have a conversation with them before you start making their game more fun. I don't know, I'm biased. 3, okay, this one's a little shifty. I love saving my good stuff for last. Try making crits a mix of both good and bad. Have you ever succeeded at something so completely that you messed it up? Have you ever shit the bed so hard that it cleaned it? Okay, terrible analogy, but here's what I mean. This idea comes from other systems, especially Fantasy Flight games, Star Wars RPG, and Genesis systems, where the critical successes and critical failures can exist in the same roll. That means that I can blast an enemy clean through, and at the same time, I can hit their thermal detonator, and they explode, and it blasts out the windows on the spaceship, and we all get sucked out into the void. It means I can make a jump across the chasm perfectly, except my blaster pistol gets disturbed from my belt and falls down into the abyss. And I can crash my ship, slam it into a Star Destroyer, and have it burst into the bridge, destroying the ship and sending it careening to the Death Star below. Sound familiar? These moments sum up my favorite moments from my favorite action movies, and I want my action to feel like that. I want success and failure to exist in the same space. I want our greatest mistakes to result in incredible moments of luck. I want our successes to betray us in surprising ways. I love that stuff. Now, your players might not. You might not. So use this sparingly. And I'd be much more likely to make a critical failure turn out surprisingly good than a critical success let you down. I'd rather inspire hope than disappointment, always, especially in Dungeons & Dragons. These are just a few of the ways that I make my own crits mean something. And looking back on this list, it all kind of boils down to one tip, and that's make your crits have weight. Make them mean something mechanically and in the story that you tell. Thank you so much for watching. Be sure to subscribe and turn on notifications if you haven't already, and give this video a like. If you want a video on a particular part of the game of Dungeons & Dragons or other games, or if you have a problem you'd like me to troubleshoot, let me know in the comments. Or you could just come hang out with me on stream at twitch.tv/geeksforgood Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 1 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time and 7 o'clock p.m. on Wednesday. And we'll chat about it. We'll chat about your problems. Well, it's like Dungeons and Dragons. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next week. My tuchus is right on the edge of the couch. This is also like the least comfortable couch in the world. So my butt's very sore. So if I get like really angry halfway through this, you know what happened.